I knew that there would be reactions. We all knew that there would be reactions. Oh, did we? We knew that the usual cast of characters would have a reaction to Trump's indictment, his stack of indictments, 91 in total. That's the current number, and uh, the I did not think we would get. Personally, I thought I did not think we would get an actual reaction from old what's his name, this dude right here. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. I gotta say, I at least not sort of whatever an official one this quickly. Because we're gonna have a big Monday thing. Maybe this is just gonna turn out to be an ad for his Monday Mike Pillow blather, right? Maybe, but and we'll check in on those folks. Anyways, hold on. Oh dear. Well, okay. Aw. Thank you. I'm getting a bunch of information at the same time. It's a lot coming in. His spray tan is so dark. It's interesting. I'll show you something real quick. Normally, Trump, when he does these videos, they always use this same picture. This is that side bite one. Look, we'll look at it. See this? This is it. For whatever reason, it defaults to this picture they have taken of him. They use that as their thumbnail. On this one, they didn't fucking bother. It's very interesting. On this one, this is what you get. This is the... Okay, let me let me wait. Let me run this scenario by you. See if this fits in your. Normally, you instruct your people to give you a stoic, tough guy thumbnail. You took one. There were several. This was your choice. It's bad, but it's the least bad of the ones. It's really impressive, CSL. You found this. Okay, this one's the one you chose because you think it makes you look badass or tough, or the other ones you just look awful, and you don't have the guts to tell everybody like, wow, I don't take a good picture, do I? And so you just settled on that one where somebody near you went, that one looks good, because they're trying to like steer you away from, because they think you're a lunatic, from picking the ones where you actually look even worse. There's this weird folding nut situation happening right here. He looks like an older picture of himself that's been left in the sun. But then something big happens. Now, this is your standard go-to. You use this one all the time. And you're like, oh, we gotta have this one. That's what we use. Whenever we're talking about policy. And then something terrible happens. You get indicted. You might be going to jail. You're facing a 5-year mandatory minimum on multiple charges. It could entail you spending your life behind bars. And so you decide to pull out the big guns and use your use your big, yeah. I'm not going to be able to do it. Show everybody who's boss with your really good, with your, I don't even know what that is, with your really amazing thumbnail skills. It has all the makings of an, of a your like worst driver's license photo ever. I think the most important thing is that if you're angry about your station in life, if you've lived your life as a second generation rich kid and former game show host and current micro blogger, and you've bragged about sexually assaulting women, and specifically because you do it before, without getting their permission, which is what makes it sexual assault. You know, you're bragging about this thing. I think if there's one lesson, if you're not going to learn any of the others, if there's one lesson you can learn and we can all learn from this, is if you're going to do an angry statement about the situation you finally find yourself faffoing, don't start your statement with an F. I think the fact that Fonnie Willis is the and I don't know if that's what he's saying in the beginning of this. I'm just saying, Fonnie Willis. I'm gonna just enjoy this all day. I don't even fucking need to do the video. Oh God! All right, let's do it though. It's only 49 seconds. Maybe that's what he's saying. 49 seconds. Go. This is statement from President Trump on Georgia indictment. 49 seconds. This is what a great communicator is. He can not only sum up his entire defense argument, blow away the attacks on him in less than a fucking minute, but he can also have a fucking kicking thumbnail to lead it off. 49 seconds. Let's go.
Justice and the rule of law are officially dead in America.
How did you make that face with a J? Yeah, there's justice. What was the I don't know how the fuck did that J get, where is that? Is it scroll backwards? What the hell? That's just as bad. I'm just saying.
Justice and the rule of law are officially
open for business. Welcome to Donald Trump's Museum of Old Law.
Dead in America. This marks the fourth act of election interference by crooked Joe Biden and the communist Democrats who are absolutely destroying our country. They are doing things to our country that nobody ever thought possible.
Yeah, I am impressed by the unemployment numbers. I'm shocked. I really am that it's staying this low, this long, even, and that consumer confidence seems to be going up. You know what I think? I find let me show you how full of shit he is, and you know already, but I got it. Okay, this is an article. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. All right. This is now in a situation where no one could imagine the country would be in as bad a shape as it possibly is. The worst it's ever been. Our country is going to hell, right? That's what we've heard. All right, here we go. This is an article, if I may, from Bloomberg. It starts off with a little cascading picture. People, hello, nice lady. That lady is having a couple of babies. That guy is single. He seems upset. The article, and I love this. Are you rich? Billionaires know they are. Low-wage workers are very well aware that they aren't. But vast swaths of America's regular rich don't feel that way, and it's keeping everybody down. Now, if I could, describe the quote-unquote regular rich they're talking about here, we're talking about people in the villages. We're talking about all the front row Joes that go to Trump's, his, I don't even know if you call them rallies anymore, his little gatherings, and can afford all the flights and all that kind of shit. And you'll see what I mean. This is, again, by comparison, almost every American is rich compared to the rest of the earth. So let's just start there. But even amongst your average Americans, how much, if the average pay is 50 because you're including low wage, super low wage workers and young people, and on the other side of that is anybody who makes, you'll see what I mean. Okay, this is it. You know them. They're lawyers in New York, doctors in Phoenix, dentists in Memphis. They own construction companies in your hometown, burger franchises off the highway, homes in the resort villages your parents want to retire in. That's your villages, people. They're young, old, Democrats and Republican. They have two things in common. They are rich, but they don't feel that way. Now, this is, to use in the parlance of our day, this is what you would refer to as privilege. This is people who don't recognize the privilege they actually have. But this goes across, there is no, race centrist version of this necessarily. It's across everybody. Question, how rich, and this is the fascinating part, and let me tell you right now, I, by no means, let's say, make what I made during the time I was on Queer as Folk. Yeah. And I definitely have to work every day to make my living. If I slack off or I miss shows or whatever, there's a definite impact because I'm somebody, I have a time to make the donuts kind of career. Now I've always had that because of stand-up. Before and after, I've had television shows that have been part of my life with residual payments and that kind of stuff that can help you live past them because people are continuing to enjoy them, and so you get kind of like a, hey, thanks for making that because it's still making us money thing from the network in the form of residuals. As a stand-up, it's a fucking grind. You do it, and you got to keep doing it. And there's no guarantees, and you're always looking for the next project, and that's how it works. So I'm used to that. It's not weird. And I don't feel like that's below me in any ways, obviously, because I keep adding shows to this. But I'm fine with doing what I do on the daily and working this out. There are a bunch of people who don't have to live that way. They are, dentists or they're insurance people, and they do very well, and they live off part of their investments, and they take 4 weeks of vacation a year and shit like that. And there's a lot more of them than you think in the country. And this is the fascinating part. They ask people, question, how rich or poor do you feel today? Very poor / getting by, comfortable, rich, very rich. Now, I would say that most of the time, and I'm not trying to be cute about this, but even when I was eating peanut butter sandwiches with no jelly and having to make a packet of Kool-Aid stretch out, as a flavoring for water over months, as opposed to making an actual thing of Kool-Aid. When I came out to LA and was living in the 90s, here, trying to make my way, I always felt, I think comfortable is a word, but rich is genuinely. I was optimistic, excited. I had what I needed and enough to keep trucking, right? Which to me qualifies as rich. Some people consider, though, rich is like you've made it and nobody can never take it away from you, which is very weird. But I always, even in Peaks Mill growing up, I never felt poor, even when I, by all measures, was there by every single metric, poor, not just lower middle class or lower class, poor. Okay. So I, again, grew up that way, never felt that way. And that's kind of important to this. And it has a lot to do with this bullshit economic anxiety story that this dickhead has been skating on. In fact, many even go so far as to say they're poor. In a nationwide survey of over 1,000 objectively wealthy Americans, this is defined in this case as making at least $175,000 a year, roughly the amount required to crack the top 10% of U.S. tax filers. A full quarter told us they were very poor, or getting by but things are tight. Half describe themselves as just comfortable. These are people who are in the top 10% of earners in the country. These are people that most of them have 2 homes at least. And these are the people who describe themselves as very poor poor, getting by, but things are tight and comfortable. Now, I got to say, there's a mix of things. Some people, when you're just getting there and it's always a scramble in the first 5 years and becomes a habitual way of thinking about it. But there's a habitual version of that too. And what you would see is like, clock punching workers where your job sucks even if you like it. There's a daily like, how's your job? I fucking hate this place, but they wouldn't go anywhere else, and they don't try to get a raise, and they don't try to move on, even though they absolutely could. So they do like it, and there may be a little bit of the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, but there we go. The people we polled have good jobs, own their homes, and have savings for retirement. By some combination of hard work and good fortune, they've achieved the old-fashioned American dream. Still, for many, it's not enough. Some millionaires still say they are poor. Question. This is okay. Approximately, what is your net worth? Value of your assets minus your debts. Less than 500,000. That's the biggest group that says they are very poor. There's a huge chunk that say comfortable, and there's a bit that says rich. I would be in that category. I'd be in the people with that like lower net worth that says I'm very rich, even though these folks up here, whatever. So here's 500. These people make 500,000 to $1 million. They have in net worth, and a huge chunk of them say that they are very poor, just getting by. A chunk of them will say comfortable, and this chunk will say rich. At $1 million to $5 million, and this, by the way, and is the turning point. A bunch of those people say comfortable, and a larger portion than any other says that they're rich. A larger portion of people who make $1 million to $5 million, not above 5, not below 1, feel rich. That seems to be a sweet spot in how much money people need. And then 5 million or more. Look at this bunch of people here who are broke motherfuckers who have 5 million, and that's net worth. That is not salary. That is how much money they have minus their debts. So they have 5 million extra in investments, liquid shit they could sell, whatever, period, right? They feel poor, very poor, just getting by, and then whatever. Now it's a smaller group of people, that are in this category as it gets smaller. But it's interesting that there was one point where, if you recall, John McCain, they said, what's rich in America? They asked him what rich is. And he said, $5 million. And people are like, oh my fucking God. Because I think all of us would consider this zone at least, 500 to $1 million in net worth to be rich, But truly this section, the 1 to 5, if you're in this zone, you definitely qualify as rich. Because you can also invest that money back into into businesses and that kind of stuff. So you can build on it. And that's what most people think rich is a job, a way you can make money or develop or have a business where you don't have to operate a physical pump with your hand every day. Like that, you don't have to show up to work that way. It makes money on top of itself. And I mean, look at authors. You can write the book, and the book sells, and the book continues to sell. Then you write a book, and the book continues to sell. And after a while, you got enough books, and they're all continuing to sell. That top version where it goes beyond what you made on the initial sale from the initial writing of the book, that's the extra money that you live on, and it increases as you develop a back history, a backlog of books. So this is the zone where people think you can get into that coasting zone, 1 to 5. But it's interesting that it's lower than it was when McCain was talking about this. So it's actually improving, percentage-wise, whatever it is. But you can actually have the 5 million plus lifestyle in what people imagine in this smaller zone. The other thing is that they added it up at one point and looked at how much would it cost for Trump to have the lifestyle that he has. Like, how much would he have to spend every year to keep the lifestyle that he's got? And it was somewhere around $25 million. It was nowhere near billionaire status. It was just, he spends the vast majority on it on stuff that is performative. So fancy furniture and painting on the side of an old plane. But the idea is that ooh la la, from the outside it looks, oh my God, this fucker is rich. But in reality, he could just be skimming $25 million a year off of his dad's previous investments that he gets as parts of rights and settlements and yada yada that he had for a long time. And you could make this pretend billionaire lifestyle on that amount of money. Does that make sense? Okay. At a time when pretty much everything is more expensive, including cars, tuition, travel, groceries, over half of respondents in our survey said they worry about money. Some 25% say they'll be better off financially than their parents. Don't think they'll be better off financially. This is interesting. Some 25% don't think they'll be better off financially than their parents. And many have considered moving to a different part of the country during the pandemic exodus away from high-cost cities towards lower cost. Majority of high earners stress over finances. Do you worry about money? Yes, no. Which definitely, if you feel poor, very poor, which again, a lot of these like well-to-do people, these folks right here, absolutely do. There you go. The last few years, seen a once-in-a-generation reckoning in how Americans think about work, where they live. Okay, that's they use census data. Enter your annual household income. We'll track this. We don't track or store your inputs. Okay. Where would you feel? And then you can fill this out. This is the thing that they're offering. Fill this out and like, I guess, select your metro area where you are and then select an area to compare. So if you live in Chicago, you can check, Austin, Texas. That's what they're kind of talking about. And then it will tell you where your money will go the furthest. And that was part of their whole thing. But the interesting part is that there are a shit ton of his followers that feel like the world is crashing around them, and yet they've never been better off. And so at a certain point, again, I would argue where most criminality, most of it, Hal is back. It sucks having to watch TYT babies on Tuesday. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to front load shows for the Tuesdays starting up very soon. Once they get the date straightened out on the jam, we'll go at that later. But there's a huge chunk of his followers who are doing very well, who are totally fine financially for the most part. They're striving, and so therefore the act of striving makes it feel like they're, they don't have what they need, because that's what if you're jogging and you're trying to improve your time, the distance that you're running, you're going to feel like you're out of breath. Does that make sense? It doesn't mean you're breath poor. It's because you are using more of it and you are stretching how far it will go. Does that make sense? Okay. Same thing is true psychologically of your financial state. I mean, if you can be comfortable doing whatever the fuck, that's why Warren Buffett is always the most relaxed guy in the room, because he lives in the same fucking house he's had forever. He doesn't stretch how far his dollar can go. He just accumulates it. And if he's had contractions in his wealth that everybody else panics about, but since he doesn't necessarily use it, he doesn't notice it, and it just keeps inflating and inflating and inflating. So, that's a huge ton of the people who support him. It isn't this idea that there's this like working class uprising against Trump. It's not. The people that like him are in the stands at NASCAR events that cost a lot of money. They're at UFC fights. They go and fucking see wrestling. They pay $120 a ticket to go twice a month. And yet, if you ask them, the Democrats are trying to make them communist and poor and break the whole thing, and America's never been worse off. You understand? It's so weird.
They know they can't beat me in a fair fight at the ballot box, so they're weaponizing the legal system to try and defeat me. And it makes my eye twitch like Herbert Loam in the Pink Panther movies. I've only had a chicken leg and some clear broth since Wednesday. I'm cracking up. I hate him. This is the greatest.
Hold on.
They can't beat me in a fair fight at the ballot box, so
yeah, they do. Actually, all the numbers point to it, and you're driving away independents, and half the fucking Republican Party isn't going to vote for you.
They're weaponizing the legal system to try and defeat me. And you know what? This is the greatest political movement of all time.
You mean the attack on you, or what kind of movement are we talking exactly? Because I guess MAGA, is that what he means? Is the greatest political movement of all time?
It's going to make America great again. There's never been a movement like it, and they're not going to let it happen.
We're not going to let so Democrats aren't going to let America be great again? Well, what's all that infrastructure bullshit about? I'm serious. Like, why even try? If the goal is to make sure the country isn't great again, just let the roads collapse, right? Why didn't he cut the when the Republicans were playing, with the debt ceiling? Why not just cut all the fucking funding to the military? Why don't you go, yeah, cut away, slice away, go to new sequester part 2. Yeah, who needs functional bridges? Well, honestly, I'm just saying, Joe Biden is a terrible communist.
They're not going to let it be dishonest anymore.
I don't know who he's talking about in the they. Do you guys know? So the movement is MAGA, and they, the MAGA people, aren't going to let it happen, or we're not going to let MAGA happen. The dishonest people that are attacking. I don't know. Does anybody know what the fuck he's talking about? Wait, I got to run this back again. So I think he's mixing pronouns, which is...
Can't beat me in a fair fight at the ballot box, so they're...
They already did. You already have been. And you were in charge at the time. You had the high ground. You had the upper hand. You had every possible advantage. You, according to you, in the middle of us being attacked by a bioweapon where you were filleting the leader of the country that allegedly sent it here, according to you, you had your ass kicked by a bunch of Democrat volunteers in Georgia. Dude, how can anybody be that big a fucking loser? You had your ass kicked by the guy who wasn't even in office. He didn't even have office. He never left his basement, according to you. And he kicked your ass.
Weaponizing the legal system to try and defeat me. And you know what? This is the greatest political movement of all time. It's going to make America great again. There's never been a movement like it, and they're not going to let it happen. They're not going to let it be dishonest anymore. But just as we've prevailed before, we will once again...
So I think what he means is that the MAGA movement is going to show up and vote him back in, even if he's in jail. Magoo!
Stronger. Next November, we will win back the White House, and we will indeed make America great again.
Well, I think that sums it up. I mean, I had my questions about the legality of the case and some of the evidence that they were presenting, and I think all my questions were answered. And this is the face you want to end on, too. This is the end of his video. This is the face of a man who feels like, nailed it. Yes, next November, the election, whatever. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. This is a man who lost to Sleepy Joe by millions of votes after losing the popular vote to Hillary Clinton by millions of votes and squeaking in on the Electoral College, who is still running on being an outsider, even though he was president of the fucking country for 4 years. And 2 of his crimes that he's being accused of and that he is in the most trouble for happened after he lost the election. And the biggest one, I think, which is the documents case, happened after he was no longer president and a private citizen. After he'd spent 4 years as the president of the United States, he still manages to concoct a crime that he's going to catch hell for. You lost. You lost. You loser. You lost. And that's the face you would make. If I had to describe, you'd never seen this. Your whole life, you'd been without sight, and then through the miracle of human-animal hybrids, you were able to see again, or some invention from, I guess, from the big tech.
We appreciate it very much, Tim Apple.
You got digital eyes, and you were able to see for the first time, and all you'd heard is the descriptions over your life of this man who's a complete loser. Is this not the face that you would expect, and the expression you would have him have on his face? Like, I mean, can this just be his fucking mugshot? Is it so wrong?